public comment, and I'm actually just taking these in the random order that they. Yeah, everyone please take a minute.
Okay.
Helen Stoker?
Stotler, that's me.
Stotler. Hi.
I'm not sure if I really have anything really giant to say, except for the fact that I appreciate the police enforcing and trying to make our neighborhood, because it belongs to me as well as the homeless people that choose to live on the beach and are allowed to choose to live on the beach. I appreciate you enforcing what you can to make our neighborhood safe. I am very concerned that over the past year and a half, and I live within a half a block of the boardwalk, I've seen the demeanor of the people who are living on the boardwalk change. I have 6 grandchildren. I am very nervous about walking with them on the boardwalk. And I've lived in Venice for 10 years, and I can't say that I've felt that way before. So I know it's a really hard issue to deal with, but I appreciate you're trying to think of us as well as the homeless people.
Well, because our mission is to reduce the incident of crime and the fear of crime.
Well,
just because the numbers are down, if everybody's still afraid, we're not fulfilling our mission, and that goes for both sides. And then the community is everyone, homeless. Even if you're a criminal, you're still part of the community. Everybody has rights. Everybody is allowed to live here. So we balance that.
Thank you. How about, who is Gonzo? And what's your last name, Gonzo?
Rock.
What is it?
Rock, R-O-C-K.
R-O-C-K, okay.
Yeah, I would just reiterate that, the things that I've heard Helen say. This has been a declining situation for more than a year and a half in my estimation. I've lived on the boardwalk for 8 years, and the last 4 years have been downhill. We're going to lose what Venice is if this continues. Skid Row West is not what Venice was for the last 20 years. It's always had its crazies, and that's great. That's part of the character. But the pooping in the buckets, the attacking the people who live here as they walk down the street is kind of a new thing. You'll find incidences, I'm sure, in the past of somebody being attacked. But the incident level of frequency has definitely ticked up. If we don't do something about it, we're going to lose Venice. You're going to see it happen. It is happening. All you got to do is hang out down by the coffee shops on the boardwalk, the Cadillac, and listen to the tourists talk about, oh my God, did you see what I saw? And sometimes it's in French, and so Helen will translate. It's changing, guys. Bury your head in the sand, but it's changing.
Thank you.
Gary?
I'm Gary Harris. I live on the boardwalk on the building there. And I want to thank you, Officer Gonzalez, for the changes I've seen over the year. But like Helen and Gonzo and all of us here, we're certainly concerned and want to continue to see it get cleaned up. And what we want is social solutions, not social services. We don't want to see enabling. We want to see some solutions, which you're not. Part of the solution is to provide them with other options other than compromising the quality of life of the residents. So we appreciate what you've done. That's why we're
But when you had that webcam, we used that over this past weekend, and we used a couple other webcams. If anybody was watching the webcam, we can watch the beach tremendously.
it's better. We still got our guys back at the tennis courts, but they're better.
Yeah,
they haven't been bad lately.
In our command post, we had pictures, we had video everywhere of the boardwalk and things were going on because of the community in the area putting these cameras up so we can watch and see what's going on.
Go to Venice Beach livecam.tv for live boardwalk broadcast. Thank you, Derek.
We had
all right, repeat that. Sorry. Deborah Lasher.
Venice Beach livecam.tv.
Yeah, I'm a and I'd just like to say that I've been watching the attacks on these poor people by the Venice Stakeholders Association since I've started my business here. It started with pushing the people out of their vehicles and onto the streets so they don't have any of their dignity left and they don't have any place to store their stuff. They've been pushed out of their vehicles onto the sidewalk, which is an unsafe way for them to live. Then they tried to get somewhere, like you said, that wasn't in front of the house. They went onto the boardwalk. Now they've been pushed without a legal law off the boardwalk. The only place that they can find that's not within 10 feet of the doorway is on 3rd Street by Rose. They've been trying to do there. Yes, there is sanitation problems, but the city is not providing any help for that. The city is not providing trash cans. The city is not providing any porta potty or any kind of. They lock the bathrooms at night. There is nowhere for these people to go. If the city would provide the trash cans and the porta potties for them, this would not be a problem. And this is what I hear more than anything, is the sanitation problems. Well, that's easily fixable. Easily fixable. Why the city is not doing that so that these people are having this problem, I don't know. Well, I just want to say that the laws are being enforced. There's no reason for the VNC to have anything to do with that. The police are doing their job very well, and you guys are commending them for them. I don't understand what you want them more to do. They're within their bounds now. If they go to your comments on what they should do, Mark, and your twist on the law, then they will be in violation. So I just want to make that very clear. They are doing their job. They don't need any help from you.
She may need no introduction, but Dede Audet is the former president of the Neighborhood Council and sort of activist extraordinaire.
Yes. And after I left the presidency, I did write a report on homelessness. And I can tell you, what we are talking about here is a reminder of a society that doesn't care for everybody. That's what we have. Now, it has to go to the California legislature. I'm hearing you argue about a whole list of ordinances that are not apparently satisfying everybody. I don't think we can, because our homeless are a reminder of a failed society. Yeah. Now, I have written a report. You can reach me, DAUDET@ca.rr.com, and I will send you the report. Bill Rosendahl and Jan Perry have it. It has to be taken care of by the legislature. We can't correct it at this level, but we need political awareness of a failed society.
We have Chris Jackson. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, Chris Jackson. I'll keep it brief. I think you're touching on a few points. One, when you talk about people being service resistant or going to a shelter, dealing with and personally talking to a lot of the unhoused and homeless people, they hate those shelters. It's demoralizing. People, they are disgusted by shelters. If we talk about people going to shelters, you need to completely reform the shelter system, because it is, I can find anybody who would even come close to going to a shelter. People be on the street for 5 years and never go to one. The chaplain who does go out there, the information that he gives, I find a little twisted, and the police issue chaplain hat, I think he could do without a police issue chaplain. Yeah, the chaplain hat shouldn't be issued by the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all chaplains.
The Quakers fire is
Yeah, it's just been systematic. It is boardwalk closure, which is illegal. It was the getting the RVs off, which is, if you review that, little history of that was just absurd. I mean, ludicrous and absurd. And kicking people off a third, no access to bathrooms. I mean, so from our side, it's like, well, you know, it's just attack. You know, what do we do to really give real solutions for these people? You know, if they want whatever else. But the garbage raids, the city had no idea how to perform that. They were taking everything off the sidewalks, everything else. They were being as disgusting as possible. We were down there to record, make sure everything was by the law. The next time they had a garbage raid, the police came at 2 o'clock, 3 in the morning, and told everybody that they would be arrested if they didn't leave, and it was clear at 7 o'clock in the morning. That is a clear violation of why are the police coming at 2 o'clock in the morning, telling everyone they'll be arrested and running everyone off their avenue 2 hours before.
Can you wrap it up?
I was there,
Yeah.
we talked about offline.
Yeah, please follow up with these issues with LAPD offline, but just we want to stick to the motion just because we need more. The next person is Sylvia Arath.
My name's Rick. I'm with a homeless agency myself. Crystal has said, you know, I have to agree with Dede. It's part of what you're seeing on Venice, I think, is people being chased from downtown to Venice. And to chase them now to another place with law enforcement, it's like how people have treated prostitution all the years. It doesn't really do anything by chasing them to the next block. You're right, Dede. It's got to be a bigger service-oriented thing, an alternative thing. I'm sensitive to both parts of this because I work with the business community all the time. But the police have done everything they can. I think it's now up to services to be provided for people so they have alternatives. Sure, arrest people that are breaking the law all the time, but chasing them, arresting and chasing is never going to do it. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Who is People of California?
That's me.
What is your name?
People of California.
We need
Is
to
this a Brown Act
record
meeting?
of-
Is this a Brown Act meeting? And I don't need to give you my name.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. All right, so I just want to make a couple points. First off, I think this is a misguided attempt to extend laws that are already on the edge of breaking, the rights of the homeless, the unhoused. When you talk about, people having the right to property, I'm glad that you acknowledge that because that goes back to like 1215 AD, and I don't know if the municipal corporation known as the City of Los Angeles or the all capital letters state of California have the right to repeal Magna Carta. I'm pretty sure they don't. What you do when you come by and take someone's property, that's textbook larceny. So I'm glad to see the police have decided to stop doing that. I would argue that Mr. Ryavec represents no one but himself.
He represents me.
Yes, that's exactly it. No democratic elections. We don't know who's involved with them. Doesn't like to speak about who their membership is or where they get their money. And it's really shameful that people like that have anything to do with Venice government. Thank you.
Sorry, we did. Tom McComas? Is that right?
Yeah, Tom McComas.
McComas?
So I just have a clarification issue. I see signs that say no parking of vehicles that are over 6 feet tall, a certain width, and then like by the community center, there's a bus that's been there for months, and like a multicolored school bus. And I'm just curious if that law is still being enforced or those signs are no longer valid. Used by the park. I've owned a house in Oakwood for 12 years. The park was, filled with those RVs, and now there's only a couple of them. And I'm wondering if that's being enforced anymore or not, or what's the status with parking and recreation?
We're still enforcing it. All the signs in place are still enforcing it. We're still enforcing it. The bus are coming up. We'll talk offline. I'll see if we can really.
Point of information.
1 second, Mark.
That block has never been, nobody signed up for the signage on that block, and no one's living in that big, huge black bus. So, other than the fact that I think it's dangerous because it's such a narrow street, I don't think there's anything to enforce against. Unless you get it posted.
Wait. I appreciate this discussion.
Just a point of
But
information.
Let's do this one offline so we can focus on what we're here today on. But stay for a minute, follow up with them, and they, if we want to put this on the next meeting, for example, we're happy to do that.
But all the signs in place, everything's getting enforced.
David Ewing.
Yeah, right here. Just an aside on this, also.
Just stick to the motion.
Okay.
Only because we have
That's fine.
a lot of
That's
people
fine.
on.
Yeah. The thing here is that I think we have a situation where we have to build some mutual respect. We have to engage both sides in trying to find solutions. There's for instance, on that porta potty or the bucket, right? That was an attempt by somebody to provide a place other than people's lawns, okay? And he was actually very careful with the sanitation aspect of it. And I'm not saying that he should have kept it, but I'm saying, that better to light a single candle, right? If there's no place for people to use, then they're going to use wherever they can't stop their bodily functions. So if we can engage each other in ways that promote the kind of behavior that we want to see, and you were talking about that, about finding other ways to persuade people not to, occupy the sidewalks and so forth. There's a guy named David Kennedy.
I'm sorry, David, I don't mean to cut you off, but are you for or against the motion?
I'm against the motion as written.
Okay.
But there's a whole school of policing that comes out of Harvard, and this guy David Kennedy, who has dealt with drug markets and been able to reduce crime tremendously in communities where his
David, I'm sorry, I appreciate this. We can have this dialogue.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
I'm just saying that this kind of law-by-law enforcement isn't really, just the same way Dede was saying, we got to go higher.
I agree. One thing the chief says all the time is we're never going to arrest our way out of a problem.
Yeah.
We need this. It takes a partnership.
Can I just
no, I'm sorry. We only have a minute per speaker, and I'm not trying to cut you off.
Yeah,
But people, you know, I'm trying to let everyone get a chance to speak here. We just got a request from Barbara Gibson and Rita Moser. And do you have anything that's different than what everyone else has said?
Yes, I think so.
Are you speaking for or against?
I'm for the motion, and I happen to be one of the
Just
anyway,
very quickly, if you can give us your point of view.
We've owned property since the 70s in Venice. There's always been problems. I'm against the social service because they enable people. I'm all for solutions, but there is a fear factor now that you see my face. Things happen to us. But also, I resent, this part hasn't been said, I resent that I couldn't afford to live at the beach. I had to work. I ironed clothes. I cleaned houses. But you can, yes, it's very selfish, that we work really hard and you're allowed to just live at the beach. I resent that. I really do.
On the sidewalk.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, that's one of the things that I want to say, and I think other homeowners feel this way too, that we have worked so hard to get where we are, and we can't live at the beach, but people, for some reason, are allowed to do this. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I understand the social problems. I understand a lot of those things. We've built housing. The social service industry of money that has been spent to just continue to have this happen is wrong. And you're right. It's a social issue. It has to be changed. And it has to be changed from the way the money is being put out to do something that is not doing a benefit to the people, the TB, the diseases, all the things. Thank you for saying that about, I lived in a country house that had an outhouse. I understand even those kind of things. Thank you. But I'm 69 years old and I'm telling you.
Rita Moser?
I don't know what I can add to that.
Honestly, if you don't have, I'd love to hear you speak, but if you don't have anything that's different or new, I can know. Okay, are you for or against? Are you for or against the motion?
I'm for the motion. I didn't hear part of it. I've talked with several of the people down there. I have met one person who was looking for a place. He happens to have a dog. I have a photo of it. He would love to live. He's gone through CAF. They don't have a place for a guy, a single guy. He's not on drugs. He's not on alcohol, anything. And he would like to live in a house and get off the beach. So if you have anything, please. But I have found they don't want to get off. This is their thing. My question is, what is Venice doing that acts like a petri tree or something that brings all these people in?
Tolerance.
Tolerance? I think we should examine our own selves and see what it is that we are creating this. You go up and down the beach in other areas, they do not have this.
Yes, they're not camping in Yosemite either.
They also don't have 16 million visitors.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. You can have literally 60 seconds. John Henning.
Okay, so the motion is really simply to ask for the enforcement of the existing laws. We're not trying to get any new laws passed. The existing laws are all fully enforced. And the only exception is that one thing that goes along with the Jones injunction, which is that they're not being enforced during the night against sleeping in the street. Everything else is still enforceable, and we're simply asking the city to continue to enforce the laws as they're written and not to editorialize and change the laws based on perceived threats of litigation and other things.
Let me ask one question. Our parliamentarian suggested to us that certain clauses, basically the and which clause, in each bullet point on here in the whereas section. So we have, whereas you have LAMC 62.61, it's quotes from the code, and then there's a paragraph, there's a phrase that says and which thereby prohibits. Each statute mentioned has one of these and which clauses. Our parliamentarian has said to us that those are improperly written and which clauses because they state an opinion. I can't really opine on this. I don't have the experience the parliamentarian has on how you write the second half of these whereas
Does your
clauses.
parliamentarian have any legal authority?
No, he doesn't. But I'm just trying. Hold on one
Is an
second.
editor of any kind?
The reason why I'm telling you this is because I just want you to be aware. You are the motion maker, so I think if I'm told that someone perceives a flaw in your motion, you're entitled to at least know what that is. I'm not sure that I see it, but we have been told by the parliamentarian that he thinks that these and which clauses are inappropriate for the motion.
Well, I think can we settle that? If it passes here, then we can discuss that with Ivan between now and the time it comes up.
I think that would be fine. I've actually not had this situation before where I've had to sort out this kind of change or something, so you may want to. I just want you to be aware of this. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that all the and which clauses are saying is they're essentially declaring the motion maker's position as to what these various ordinances mean, and similarly, the VNC can adopt that interpretation as well. So I don't see why there's a parliamentary objection.
Let us now. Okay, thank you. We have a little bit of time for committee discussion. I mean, we've heard a lot, and everyone's kind of vetted out both sides. Is there any questions that anyone on the committee has, or?
My only opinion is that since these laws are being enforced,
Right. What Nick said is if these laws are already being enforced, why are we voting on something that is already in existence? I actually agree with Nick on this, and I'm wondering to the motion makers, why not direct this to the city attorney? I mean, I think that the police are in a tough position because they have their marching orders. They don't have a lot of discretion in how they enforce some things. Right? I mean, I'm just wondering if...
This is directed to the city attorney. Whether or not the city attorney is addressed, the motion is directed to everybody at the city council, to the city LAPD, and to the city attorney. We're asking LAPD to enforce because the city attorney, with all due respect, is notoriously evasive about being told to do anything or asked to do anything by way of interpreting ordinances by the public. Their view is that the ordinances are a matter of interpretation between them and their bodies, and they're not going to respond to any request we make to interpret an ordinance in a certain way. The answer to that would be we have no comment.
I'm sorry, we just can't get into the back and forth.
I just want to make sure everybody is very clear on something. The city attorney's office supports all of our enforcement. We get full support from the city council, and I feel we have full support of the Venice Neighborhood Council as well. I don't want anybody to think that our hands are tied. Our hands are not tied. We're not tied by anybody. Everybody's asking us to go out and do something, and that's where we work with outreach. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Would you, if we were to amend the motion to say the neighborhood council asks the city attorney to direct LAPD to enforce all of
Their
these
answer to that will be we don't direct LAPD to do anything. I have literally heard those words from a high-level deputy city attorney.
Okay.
We don't tell LAPD what to do. Now, I know that we're here something different. That's my point.
Okay.
They will not direct. We have asked them to direct LAPD to do any number of things in Venice, and the answer always is the same. We do not direct LAPD to do anything. It's a fine distinction. They tell LAPD what they think the law is, but they have no force to direct LAPD to do anything.
And the officer's agreeing with that.
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
This has nothing to do with the VNC. This is directed at the city attorney, this motion.
It has to do with the community.
No, you just said it's directed
Go ahead,
to the
Rob.
city attorney.
I'm sorry, thank you. Robin?
One of the speakers mentioned that these people are referred to services, but they really hate them. They don't want to use them. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and why that is? Part of this motion is to, provide referrals and all that. And I want to understand if that's even reasonable or.
Sure, I'll try to keep it quick. Just the feedback that we normally get is that for the sanitation issues, the safety issues, there's no security. Sometimes you're limited to just a meager amount of possessions, so you may have to give up, whatever you own and carry a small bag, and so you kind of subscribe yourself to a meager amount of possessions at all. They get you to bed late, so they may get you to bed at like midnight and get you up at 6 a.m. so you don't get a full night's sleep. I mean, it's silly, but there's a lot of things that just are, there's no dignity. It's not a real help. I can go talk to anybody on 3rd or on the boardwalk and say, you want to go to a shelter, it's cold outside? And they're like, no way, I'd rather be here on the street. Because of the sanitation, because of the safety issues. And I'll talk to you later on about that if you'd like to.
The Strand can be South Central too.
Okay.
Yes. They give you a ride back. They'll take you there and leave you.
I'm going to make a proposal.
Okay.
Which we have to vote on, which is not, it's us, the committee.
Do you speak?
So I don't think there's anything that Brian left about speaking.
Can you speak a little
Yes,
louder?
yes.
I am making a proposal that we do not support this amendment or proposal, and that we do hold further talks with Mr. Ryavec and his group and the police to see if we can make things go further. But as concerns this motion, I am proposing against it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just to speak my 2 cents on this, I think I'm kind of with Nick on this. I agree with everything that's in the motion, but I'm just not sure that I'm hearing from LAPD that they're not already enforcing these things. If they're being told or they're enforcing things that are constantly getting thrown out of court, so they're not enforcing that section or whatever section you were referencing, I think we're not going to ask them to just keep making the futile effort to do that. So I actually didn't know that you guys were enforcing under all these different code sections.
So I made a proposal, I need a second.
May I speak to that question? I'm sorry.
Sure, just be very brief, very pointed.
LAPD, as we've learned from the discussion, is not actually fully enforcing the law. As to the first ordinance that's on the list, they are not enforcing it against people who are partially blocking sidewalks.
But they responded to that. I heard what they said.
But they're not enforcing it. Okay. The other thing is they're not enforcing the leaving of possessions on the street in the way that the ordinance provides. They are following the Levon injunction, which only applies to downtown. They're essentially following that injunction in Venice in the anticipation that someday that injunction may go to Venice. There may be a similar injunction. So they aren't actually enforcing the law the way it's written presently. They are actually editorializing on the law. And what we're asking is that the law just be enforced the way that it's written and not be editorialized.
Thank you, Regent University.
Okay. Would you guys like to take a vote?
Yeah, I have to have a second. We have to vote.
So let's call the question. Or did you want to say something?
Can you restate the motion? That I object to the proposal, but feel that there are grounds for further discussions which we should hold with all parties at another time and another place.
I think maybe what the procedure here is, we can either carry this forward to the next meeting if we want to do more discussion. I actually tried to reach the city attorney on this and couldn't get them, so I don't know what their perspective is on it. I think it would be helpful to have somebody, because I feel like this is a little bit above our pay grade here. I'm not sure that we are the right group of people to be dealing with this issue. There's clearly a disconnect between what LAPD believes and what you believe they're doing. I think they are enforcing it, is what they said, to the extent they can. So what we can either decide on this now, which is essentially deciding to move this on to AdCom to ask to be put on the board agenda, or we can carry it for a month to try to get some input from the city attorney, because I do think there's a disconnect here between what I'm hearing and what you guys are alleging.
It's passing the buck.
We can just vote on the now. So.
I think we should go ahead with this and recommend it. There's nothing I hear more out in the neighborhood and on the street and everywhere than people saying we're not enforcing the law. and one person's saying we are, another person's saying we're not. Let's find out. I mean, why not move this forward? What can it hurt? I mean, we don't know for sure that we're enforcing it the way it should be enforced, and that's sometimes a matter of opinion anyway, and the legal people weigh in, and but if we put it out there, and then it'll give us something it'll give us a springboard to discuss and keep it alive and move forward, rather than just waiting another month and more. It'll give us something to talk about.
Well, I mean, I agree that these issues probably need to be dealt with and addressed. I'm concerned about the language of the motion, because I think it's not the spirit of the motion, it's what it's asking to do. I don't think we can ask LAPD, after they've told us they're enforcing what they can, to enforce the law.
But they're interpreting. They're not just saying they're enforcing the laws, period. They're getting advice from here and there.
From their lawyers.
And they're interpreting.
The courts.
You don't trust the police that they're enforcing the laws like they say they are.
Further discussion. It was something somebody hasn't thought about.
Codes are not laws.
I vote against them.
Okay, so let's have a vote on
Slave codes too,
first
right?
whether we want
pro-laws.
to put this right now on the board agenda. Okay, there's 5 of us here. Who's in favor of moving this to the board agenda as written? Okay, well, 3 voting, then the motion carries. So, Robin, I would also propose, well, if it's going to go to the board agenda, then, well, we'll negotiate language, but what I was actually going to say is we should try to put this on another one of our agendas so that we can actually vet these issues, because the board's not going to do that. And so my concern is that this is a serious issue, needs to be addressed, but I want to make sure when it gets to the board level that it's teed up in a way that we can have the right discussion. Because right now I feel like we're a little bit ships passing in the night on what we're hearing in terms of what people think is going on and what LAPD is doing.
Yes.
And then I'm not sure how to close that gap, but perhaps, what?
And that's one of the reasons for the motion.
I understand.
Is to create this dialogue that clarifies what the law, we think the law is, and what the city attorney does, and what the police does. Trying to move that agenda, that conversation.
Okay, so we have a vote to move this to the board agenda, and we'll make the agenda a request to AdCom. And so everyone that's interested in this, the next board meeting is the 3rd Tuesday in June. I don't know the date, but expect that this will likely be on the board agenda. But I would suggest as well that we maybe set a time in the future in this committee to tease out some of these issues.
We're happy to
and so,
Just a question.
yes, go ahead.
I'm wondering what the VNC thinks they can do on this, when even the attorney for Mr. Ryavec has stated over and over again that if the VNC doesn't have any power to do anything, it's really a city attorney issue. So they're basically using the VNC to talk with the city attorney, and that's one issue that I don't think, like you guys have said, the VNC really doesn't have jurisdiction over this. And also, I'm wondering why people that say that they want the police's help are saying that, on the other hand, on one hand they're saying, yes, we want the police, we want them to do everything, and thank you for doing such a good job. And on the other hand, they're saying you're lying, you're not enforcing the laws like you say you are.
Well, let me just say, I think all of these opinions and positions are good ones, and you should bring them to the board meeting in June, because look, we are a committee. We try, Nick, who maybe you just left, try to take all. I think he had a doctor's appointment that was pretty important for him. To get all the stakeholders with whatever issue they have, we want to take them. Whatever side of the line or issue you're on. I mean, we've taken all kinds of requests from all kinds of people on all kinds of things. And so our purpose in the committee is just to vet those, to get everyone their thoughts out. Based on our experience, if we see a motion that we think may have an issue at the board, for whatever reason, usually for me it's format or something else, we try to recommend that to the motion holder and put that up for discussion. But ultimately, at the end of the day,
it's for the city attorney, not the VNC.
Right, and that will likely be the subject of some discussion at the board meeting. So I would encourage you to come and bring up that point, because, but in any event, this is an issue obviously we have a lot of people here that are interested in. So we'll try to set up another meeting for us and
Maybe that time we can get the city attorney there. You know,
I don't
try
see
to
why
get
the
some.
VNC is wasting their time if it's a city attorney issue. That's in my point.
You know what, because stakeholders, and I mean VNC stakeholders asked us to. And we've done a lot of things that maybe haven't led to anything, but we've had people that are stakeholders in Venice and they've asked us to do this, and I would do that for any stakeholder on any issue.
Can I just ask a point of information? How many voting members are there on this committee? How many people are on the committee who are not present?
Two.
The full committee?
Two.
So there are 7 people on the full committee, and there were 5 present at this meeting?
Yes. Yes.
3 out of 7.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.